Back in late 2012, Disney made the risky move of purchasing Lucasfilm for a little over $4 billion. Specifically in that deal, George Lucas was offered $2 billion upfront and another $2 billion in stock. As of today, that purchase has been amazing for Disney. But Disney is not the only company that has earned a ton from this deal. Just in the next year after Disney purchased Lucasfilm, EA got exclusive rights to Star Wars games for the next 10 years. And as we all know, that exclusivity deal has come to its end, with new games from Ubisoft and Zynga coming very soon. But it begs the question, just how much did EA earn from this exclusivity deal? Whilst we don't know the cash transfer of the exact deal between Disney and EA CEO Andrew Wilson recently announced in an EA earnings call that the Star Wars franchise had been incredibly valuable to the company, pointing out that EA Star Wars games had brought in over $3 billion in net bookings, equating to about 52 million sales of Star Wars games made by EA. Now, this does count in sales of games before the exclusivity deal, but what is really interesting is that the mobile game Star Wars Galaxies of Heroes churned out about $1 billion of revenue that accounts to that $3 billion in total. It is absolutely insane how much that game is generating in terms of cash. This is especially impressive considering how few games EA made when having the exclusivity rights. After signing the rights back in 2013, all they had created in terms of AAA games was Star Wars Battlefront in 2015, Star Wars Battlefront 2 in 2017, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order in 2019, and then Star Wars Squadrons in 2020. All other games that they had created were either mobile games like Star Wars Galaxies of Heroes and Star Wars Rise to Power, extensions to existing games in EA's library, which is like The Sims 4 Star Wars Journey to Batuu, or BioWare's MMORPG Star Wars The Old Republic. And the rest were pretty much cancelled games, much like Project Ragtag, which many people were super excited for, but we never got in the end. A couple of the reasons why EA hardly made any games during its exclusivity deals is likely due to Battlefront being a gigantic game to make. That project had a huge development time, but it had definitely revenued enough to earn back earnings for EA, especially the sequel. That game has generated far too much cash for the company. The other reasons are the pushback from players. Many games were either tweaked, changed, or cancelled because of players' requests for single-player experiences rather than the saturation of multiplayer experiences. That's what caused Jedi Fallen Order to be created, for example. But honestly, it's a massive shame we didn't see more AA games like Star Wars Squadrons enter the fray from EA. Those type of goodwill games from EA are low in terms of budget and development time, and gives players more gameplay experiences with a lower risk from EA. Not to mention some articles that kind of pissed me off, like from Dark Horizons, stating that Star Wars Squadrons didn't fare so well, and some other articles counting it as a failure. Yet if you look at EA's quarterly earning reports, the game performed well above EA's expectations anyway. And I think that's a justifiable amount of evidence to warrant more AA games like that from EA. But let's return back to the point at hand. $3 billion in bookings from EA had been generated in the past 11 years. That is just $1 billion shy of what Disney paid for the company itself. And the total potential earnings from Star Wars games in total is probably way more than double that. So when we get statements from EA that they're going to be continuing to make Star Wars games, I'm really not surprised. In fact, there is actually evidence supporting this too. Benchmark company analyst Mark Hickey actually asked Andrew Wilson if the lack of exclusivity meant EA would be producing fewer Star Wars games in the future, to which he said there won't be any change to our commitment to that IP or our ability to build the appropriate number of Star Wars games. We've had a long partnership with Disney, and you should expect us to continue to invest in our Star Wars relationship, as it has been very profitable up until this point. So why did EA make so much money via Star Wars games when they hardly made any? It comes through scarcity of supply and demand. There was an uproar of demand in Star Wars games during the sequel trilogy release of films, and all people had was either Battlefront or Battlefront 2, and it wasn't until the last film where they actually had Jedi Fallen Order. And it brings me to the reason why I believe Disney didn't renew their contract with EA. I think they realized just how much money is in the franchise in terms of gaming, and it would just make sense to diversify the platform with different publishers, rather than one publisher having the job of having to churn out tons of Star Wars games. So do I believe that EA will be making a crap ton of money via Star Wars games in the next 10 years? Abso-fucking-lutely. Jedi Fallen Order was that much of a success that it genuinely changed EA's opinions on single-player games. Jedi Fallen Order 2 is absolutely going to be a hit either way, because it is going to be the only big AAA Star Wars game that we're going to see in the next 3 years. We're going to be hearing nothing from Ubisoft's Star Wars game until about 2024, and the next 2 significant Star Wars games are going to be from EA as well. That being another AA game that has been rumoured in the works, which is theorised that it's going to be a spin-off from the Battlefront 2 series that focuses entirely on the Inferno Squad. We covered this in a separate video. You can go and check it out in the top right corner if you're interested in that one. And the other is another theorized potential Battlefront 3 game, but there has been very minimal evidence that supports that this game is actually being made. And EA's competition for the next 3 years, it's going to be Star Wars Hunters. And I hardly think a mobile game from Zynga is going to leave a dent in the power that is EA Star Wars games right now.
Oh, look. Oh my God, it is a Star Wars game. What the?
So to conclude, they made a crap ton of money via scarcity through supply and demand. But with that supply and demand, they had control of how good those Star Wars games was going to be. Battlefront 2 was a success in the end, and Jedi Fallen Order was a massive success. This gives us the opinion that Star Wars games are always going to be fantastic. Just like how we expect Zelda games to be absolutely incredible every time they come out. So they were able to build the narrative that you need to get the newest Star Wars game all the time. Because for one, we expected there not to be another Star Wars game for another 3 years after this one. And 2, we've grown to expect every Star Wars game to be amazing. Once Ubisoft has stepped up to the podium and shown what they've got, that's when I think they'll start making dents in EA's control over Star Wars games. And of course, that's probably where they'll be earning a little bit less. Because at the end of the day, it's publishers versus publishers with the same franchise. Another little note that I might actually add here, the fact that any franchise can now have the opportunity to work on a Star Wars game does worry me a little. Because whilst it's very easy to control the narrative of how good Star Wars games are via one publisher, it's impossible to do that when there's more entering the fray. I'm worried that there may be a time where we're going to see bad Star Wars games. And if I'm going to be really negative, that one could be Star Wars Hunters if it is not done well. I have big hopes for that game. I really hope it does well. We'll certainly be covering it. But honestly, there's not much going for it right now because we've barely seen any gameplay and it's coming out this year. So who knows? Maybe there might be so many bad Star Wars games in the next 10 years that the value of the franchise in gaming just plummets. For that, my friends, we're just going to have to wait and see. But besides that, I'm going to pass the question over to you guys. Why do you think EA has made so much money? Why do you think EA has made so much money in Star Wars games? Do you agree with me on all of my points? Perhaps I missed some, or you just straight up disagree with me? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm interested in your opinions on this one, and of course, I'll read through all of them and try to get back to some of you as well. But with that all said and done, I've been Charlie, you've been watching EcksToo, and I'll see. Hi guys, just totally forgot one massive game that I didn't mention in the video, which kind of makes this video itself a little bit shaky, so I'm really sorry about putting it in the end of the video. But the biggest game that I totally forgot EA put together and gave to all of us to enjoy was Star Wars Pinball.